Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Investor Financing Podcast. And on today's show, we have Justin Dixon. He's got an MBA. He started a recruiting business. Been doing that his own business for the past 2+ years. He's been in the industry for 15 years, and a little over 3 years ago, it looks like he got into multifamily syndication. So we're going to kind of dive in and all facets of his life and business, and kind of dive in and kind of get the inside scoop of why he chose to get into multifamily. I'm curious if you were doing single family before and realized that the multifamily, or did you go straight into multifamily? Well, anyways, this is gonna be a great show. Welcome, Justin. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, man. No, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, we can dig into all that stuff for sure.
All right. So did you get into real estate 3-4 years ago, right into multifamily, or did you kind of dabble in the kind of fix and flip and the rental property type of the residential stuff?
Yeah, so it kind of all started in I guess mid 2018. I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that kind of flipped my mental script pretty instantly. And I had my wife read it because we had bought a condo a few years earlier to live in for ourselves, and we had I'd grown up in a very save money, get a good job, invest in 401k, rinse and repeat kind of a thing. So real estate was never part of my vocabulary. But then I read that book and I was like, holy crap, this is something I really need to dig into. So I didn't want to do single family, just from the sheer standpoint that I thought it was risky if I don't have a tenant in my property, I'm paying the mortgage, right? And so my whole goal was to find assets that I could, not have to pay the mortgage and have people live there and pay the mortgage, make some money and go from there. So, I didn't jump right into the large multifamily. I wanted to look at kind of the 2 to 4 units. I was living in Philadelphia at the time, and so we looked in our backyard. So we were looking in Philly for a couple of months. We put in a couple offers, walked away from a deal from a triplex that just would have been a nightmare to get the tenants out and fix. And I was new, and I don't have a construction background. So we did our inspection, and our inspector was great. And he's like, I would not put my money in this thing. So we walked away from that, looked for a few more months, and then I just Googled what are the best markets to invest in real estate. And this was 2019, probably late 2018, early 2019. And all the normal players came up: Florida, Texas, the Carolinas, but then Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania popped up. And I always wanted to find something that at least I could get to in a car within a reasonable amount of time. It's about 5 hours from Philly to Pittsburgh. But my mom grew up in Pittsburgh. My dad lived about an hour away. He lived in Western PA. So I was like, okay, let me just look there. And I found a realtor, and I just said, hey, I'm a new investor. Here's what I'm looking for. He's like, cool. So he actually would go video himself walking through the properties. And he did that for about 5 or 6. And then the 7th one, I think, it was a duplex, side-by-side twin, 3-bed, 1-bath on each side. Mortgage was about $1,100, and each side originally rented for $1,000 a piece. So we jumped into that deal, closed I think in May 2019, and then kind of chased this shiny object because I was listening to a lot of Bigger Pockets podcasts, and every guest on there is super successful in BRRRR, fix and flip, mobile home, whatever the case is. So my wife and I literally went after, I looked at BRRRR properties. I looked at house hacks. We actually almost moved into a 3-unit house hack outside of Philly. But I kept coming back to syndication. I kept coming back to I want to own part of a big, 100+ apartment complex. And so there's a lot of, very active syndicators out there that have courses and programs. And I started listening to a couple podcasts, Michael Blanc, started listening to a lot of Rod Khleif, and, they're doing these big things. And so I realized very quickly I needed to find a mentor, a group that could show me the ropes, because it's very simple to understand how to underwrite a 1, 2, 3, 4 unit apartment complex. It's very different to analyze, 100 units when you have on-site management, you're raising capital from private investors, you've got bridge debt or Fannie debt, all this other stuff, right? So I joined the syndication group in February of 2020, and been in the syndication world ever since. Took the first year because the COVID pandemic had kind of ramped up. So I took that first year to really underwrite. I think I underwrote over 200 deals across like 6 or 7 states, just trying to figure out how to, build that muscle of underwriting these deals, put in a bunch of LOIs, didn't get anything. My wife and I passively invested in a deal, just kind of see how the investment process worked, right? Because we had never gone through that process. So yeah, we really started our journey in kind of early 2020 in the syndication world, and I've been doing it for the last 2+ years now.
And so now you've participated as a GP on a few deals then?
Yeah, so right now our GP share, we're up to over 400 units across 3 different properties. One is outside of Kansas City, Kansas, and then we've got one that we just closed last month, and another one in Jacksonville, Florida. So yeah, we've gotten involved more from a capital raising standpoint. I'm still actively looking for deals, but I would say that's probably lower on my priority list. My recruiting business, as you mentioned, that I started back in January 2020, was awful in 2020 just because of the COVID pandemic. Nobody was hiring, but now it's been crazy busy. So I can make a lot of money there. And I'm taking that and investing it back into real estate. So I've been mainly focused on building out my passive investor kind of database of people that want to get involved in the real estate game, just don't know how, or don't have the time to invest in learning how the whole process works. So yeah, we've raised on a couple of deals. I've got another couple of deals that we're looking at to raise on this year. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun, frankly.
And then with your syndication company, Great Venture Capital, you have one partner in that company?
Yeah, it's my wife. Yeah,
Okay.
we're
Okay.
we're 50/50 on that. I'm kind of the face of it, if you will. She's a W-2 job, so she's working her tail off to, we live off of her salary, and which is, a great thing. She's got a really good salary and she's got a great job. We actually ended up moving to Austin, Texas back in October of 2020. So we've been here for, a year and a half now. And so, yeah, so she's been focused on that. She helps out on some of the social stuff. So a lot of the posts on like Instagram and things like that. She's the creative person in the family. I kind of get I have the time, and that's one of the reasons why I quit my W-2 job in January 2020 to not only start recruiting in real estate businesses, but also to have the time to focus on both, right? So I wanted to, working a W-2 job, I know there's a ton of people out there that are super successful in the syndication world and still have that W-2. I just couldn't focus enough time to be successful. And so that's why I was like, okay, I can do recruiting and I can make some money on that. We can live off of her salary. And I can also have enough time to travel to San Antonio or to Florida or wherever to go look at deals. So yeah.
What brought you to Austin? Did you just want lifestyle, or was it your wife's job?
A little bit of both. So we had been looking to move out of the Northeast. I grew up in PA. She grew up in Connecticut. So, we were kind of over the winters for the most part. So if COVID wouldn't have happened, we would have been probably living in Tampa, Florida, because she was actually looking for jobs down there. And that was a market I was looking at from a real estate perspective. So it made sense to kind of, move south. That's obviously where the migratory patterns are happening, right? People are moving, south of the 37th parallel or whatever. So, but no, then once COVID hit, we kind of put a pause on moving. But I have a lot of people that I know in Texas, family and also friends. And so we were originally looking for Dallas, but she got an awesome job here in Austin. And, I've never been to Austin, but I heard it was an awesome place to be. And we picked up and moved, and it's been great. Love it. I wish the housing market wasn't so crazy down here. I wish we would have bought a house, potentially back in October, but because the pricing has just gone insane in the last 18 months, at least since I've been here. And I know it was happening even before that. So, but yeah, overall weather's great. So can't really complain. Play golf a lot, so that's good.
It's amazing how many people I interview that like read Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's just like, it's amazing. Like Kawasaki, Robert, he's influenced so many people, right? Like, it's just unbelievable. I hear that over and over and over again. And then that's cool that you basically quit your W-2 job in search, and then you started your own search firm. And yeah, that's the way to go, right? Like, you can probably pretty easily, replace your W-2 income with your own business income, doing a lot less work because you get paid more. I mean, there's a little bit more stress owning like I have my own lending business, right?
Right.
There's more stress in a certain way, but it's also a lot more rewarding when you build your own business.
Yeah, there's pluses and minuses for sure, right? Like I've made more money than I ever thought I was going to, right? And I was really a part-time employee last year. And so, I make more money per position, but it's like, yeah, it's insane. There are days where I'm like, oh crap, like the world's going to fall apart. And then there's days where I'm like, this is brilliant and beautiful. And this is exactly what I wanted. And so, it's to your point, there's different type of stress, right? I was in the corporate world for 15 years and people think it's very safe and secure. And, I was a part of a big, major company that, you would get laid off on a whim if they weren't going to hit their quarterly numbers. So, there's no security in this world, whether you own a business or you work for, a company, you're a number on a line item. Right. So, I always find it funny when people are like, oh, I have a secure W-2 job. And I'm like, well, that doesn't really exist in my mind, in my experience. So.
Yeah, so true. There's, nobody, if people work 20 years and they get laid off, all of a sudden out of the blue.
Yeah.
What market are you do you spend your most time looking for deals in is that Florida or is there other?
No, primarily I look in Texas, even though that's where everybody else is looking. I don't look a ton in Austin just because it's a lot of institutional capital is coming into Austin, as a lot of the southern states. So, it's very, very difficult to compete on terms, because when we're syndicating, we have our passive investors that need, a decent return on their investment, right? Whereas, if you're an institutional buyer, you can take a lower return and it still meets your hurdles. So, I look a lot in San Antonio. I've linked up with a couple of people in the larger group that I'm in that are in Texas. Two of the guys live in Houston, so we look a little bit in Houston. But then outside of Texas, I like Kentucky and Indiana, specifically kind of the Louisville kind of area, because Louisville there's a river it borders Indiana. So there's a little town right across the border called Jeffersonville that's pretty nice and growing pretty rapidly. So I tried to look for markets that are not on the kind of, I'll call it the national radar, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody's looking in Florida, everybody's looking in Atlanta and the Carolinas. There's not as many people looking in Kentucky, and there's also not as many deals flow. So, it's the yin and the yang. You got to have deal flow to find deals and all that fun stuff. So, but yeah, those are my primary markets. I really don't look outside of those. The reason why I joined a group is because there are people that are looking in almost every, I'll call it every mid to southern state, pretty much from like Virginia down to Florida to Texas and Colorado. So all that kind of like western part of the U.S. or eastern part of the U.S., excuse me.
And Jefferson, Indiana, it's like there's a bridge and you just go over the bridge and you're in Louisville, Kentucky. Is that?
Yeah, okay. It's a little bit of border town. Yeah.
But it was like a really small population. Is growing big now or bigger, a lot bigger?
I don't have the stats in front of me, but I've talked to a couple of property managers that that have deals in Jeffersonville, which is right across the border. And that's becoming kind of I don't want to call it a boom town because I don't want to, put false, narrative out there, but it's definitely gentrifying and growing, and it's becoming a bit of a popular market outside of kind of the Louisville proper, if you will. So,
hi, if you'd like to book a call with me and discuss SBA financing, whether it's a 7A or 504, or you just don't know where to start, maybe it's a startup business, you're buying an existing business, you're buying a franchise, you're building a new office building, you want to expand your existing business, we have multiple solutions. I can walk you through the 7A and the 504 and the SBA loan process. And if you have any other questions on any other types of financing, I'm happy to book a call with you. The link's below. Look forward to seeing you soon. What are you doing now to kind of keep you? I imagine that, I know a lot of people in the search business that you guys are very good at you have certain skill sets, right? You're constantly like sourcing, right? You're sourcing. So really, search is almost like syndicating, really, because you're doing similar things, right? You're always kind of matching up. You're sourcing new deals. You're talking to brokers. You're networking with other people, and you're looking for deals. And then you're basically always sourcing investors, right? So your skill set from the recruiting world just bleeds over perfectly for this industry, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of similarities. There's a lot more numbers involved in the syndication world, especially from an acquisition standpoint, because you've got to, underwrite these deals and make sure that the dollars and cents work. But yes, from like quote unquote recruiting passive investors to the one thing that have really helped me is kind of being able to build a team, because whenever you take down these massive, 100, 200, 300 unit deals, it takes a team, right? I can't do it myself, right? And so, that's where my recruiting hat kind of comes into play. It's like, okay, I need people that can raise, because if I need to raise, let's call it $10 million to take this deal down, I don't have that in my investor database yet, right? So I need to go find other people that have, maybe they can raise $1 million, maybe they can raise 2 million, right, on a deal. And then you need to find people that have capital, right, that can actually put down the hard money or earnest money. And so, there's all these kind of people that you need to kind of add to your team, including, a good legal team and a broker for debt and all that stuff. So there's a lot of people and parties that you need to interact with. So that's also kind of where my recruiting hat kind of comes into play to say, okay, I need this skill set. Who has that within, the ecosystem that I'm a part of? And then how do I go find it and bring it into the group? So yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a benefit to having that recruiting background, because a lot of recruiting is also project management. So I need to be able to manage these projects, whether it's just raising capital. I need to make sure that my investors know what steps of the process they've completed and what they need to complete to get their money funded. So they lock in their place, in one of the syndications that I'm kind of bringing to them. So yeah, it's definitely been helpful for sure.
And what mentorship did you join, and what did you really like about it, and what didn't you like about it so far?
Yeah, so I joined Think Multifamily. It's Mark Kenny, he's based out of Dallas, Texas. I mean, the main thing that I liked is you get access to the guy, right? So a lot of these bigger syndicators, mentor programs out there, you have a coach that's probably a very successful syndicator in their own right, but you're shelling out a lot of money to join these groups. And so when I came across Mark Kenny's group, and I actually, sent a message on his website saying, hey, I'm interested in learning more. I literally had a call with him like 2 days later, and I was expecting to talk to his admin or somebody else as part of the team. I talked directly to him, and he's like, yep. He's like, the group's about 100 or 120 people. So it's not super massive. Some of these other groups are hundreds of people. He's like, yeah, I'm your person. Like, you come to me when you have questions. And he has a director of acquisitions now. That's kind of I don't know, he's not really a go-between, but he's definitely been part of the group for a long time. So I work with him, but I have his cell phone. I call him if I have a question. Every deal that I look at, I send to him to get his input. And, he's looked at a lot more deals than I have, and a lot more experience. So, if he says something looks good or bad, I trust his opinion. So that's been the main thing that I like. I mean, the group, the people in the group, it feels like a big family. We're not cutthroat. We're not out to, beat other people. We always try to find ways to partner with everybody in the group, whether it's, because obviously there's only a finite number of deals, right? And so, there have been instances where I've looked at a deal, I've sent it to Mark, we've looked at it, and then, we're getting ready to maybe submit an offer. And then somebody else in the group sent it to Mark and said, hey, I'm looking at this deal. And, he's like, hey, Justin, do you want to partner with this person? And I haven't closed a deal on my own yet. So I'm always willing to partner with people because, again, like I said before, it takes a team to take these things down. I don't really have any negatives about the group. Frankly, I know I think, for me personally, I just wish I would be able to find a deal and close it myself, take one down and be the lead on it. That's probably my only big kind of detractor, but that's really a lot on me and all that. But we are a very conservative group. I will say that. So maybe that's a negative positive, if you will, because I know I've lost out on deals because we've been maybe a little bit more conservative than we should have. And hindsight is obviously 2020. If we would have gone after deals that I looked at in San Antonio, we would have made mint, lots of money based on what has happened in the last, year and a half. We could have, 2 extra investors investment within a year and a half easily if we would have got those deals. So,
yeah.
But hindsight is obviously 2020. You can only, and who the heck knows what's going to happen in the next 12 to 18 months, right? I mean, that's the other thing that we're also trying to measure. And I don't think anybody really knows what's going to happen. You've got to just be conservative as you possibly can. And that's a negative because we lose a lot of deals, but the deals that we do get, on the whole, on the margin, tend to do better or then tend to do well, just because we have that conservative underwriting mantra or nature, if you will. So.
Very good information. Where can people follow you if they want to learn more about your business?
Yeah, so I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. So you can just find my name, Justin Dixon, on LinkedIn. My real estate business, as you mentioned, greatventurecapital.com. We have a LinkedIn page. We have an Instagram page. So any of those avenues, if you ever interested in recruiting, Hire Tomorrow is my recruiting business, hiretomorrow.com, and as well on, I'm not very active on Instagram on that. I don't think I have an Instagram handle, but yeah, LinkedIn is my main mode of communication for sure. So yeah, I'm sure we can add that stuff in the show notes and everything, so people can reach out to anything.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Last question of the show. What are you implementing over the next 12 months? What's kind of like a goal to implement to like move your business to the next level?
So I'm actively looking at bringing in a virtual assistant. I was talking to a buddy of mine who's done that to essentially reach out to people on LinkedIn to get them potentially interested in real estate. So I haven't done a lot of direct outreach to people on LinkedIn or any social media. It's been more of kind of the passive post things and have people come back to you. So that's one thing I'm definitely going to implement well within the next 12 months, probably the next 2 months.
They have really good software for that, by the way.
Oh yeah,
I do. I use it. Yeah, but I also use the VAs too. So
okay, we'll have to chat. Maybe we'll share some notes. That's something that I'm definitely gonna implement this year.
Yeah, you should use it for your search business too, man. It's just.
Yeah, we'll chat. We'll chat.
Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoy this episode. I always like to bring different guests with different backgrounds and just see how they got into real estate. And there's a lot of people that are, they're building a business over here, and like myself, I have a lending business and I buy property, right? And so that's, I make my money with my lending business. That's my earned income, and then we want to invest in real estate, whether as a passive investor. And a lot of people I've interviewed started as LP, and that's in multifamily. They like see the paperwork and see the PPM and the documents and some people don't have the time. So ultimately, if I had a bunch of money right now, I would just be an LP in a bunch of deals and just live off that, right? Like 100%. That's where you want to get. Like you have too much money where you're like, I can just reinvest my money and I can then do whatever I want because I don't need to recruit people or to close a loan to make money. And so that's the ultimate goal we're all shooting for, right? It's to really just take our money we've made and then invest in good ponies that have a good track record and like, and trust. And that's what it comes down to. So great show. Thanks so much, Justin, for being on the show. It was awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.